Welcome to What I Did Last Summer, a series of conversations with Rudman Center Fellows about their summer fellowships and what their work meant to them. I'm Laura Kanoy, Director of Community Engagement at the Rudman Center, and with me now is Jonathan Spear. And Jonathan, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for being here.
It's nice to meet you as well.
Tell us what year in law school you are and where you're from, please, Jonathan.
So I'm a second-year law student, and I'm from Bolton, Massachusetts.
Great. And how did you go about choosing UNH Franklin Pierce School of Law?
Well, it was a pretty easy decision for me. I want to practice law in New Hampshire. Again, obviously originally from Massachusetts, but there's a lot of things specifically about the New Hampshire legal community that I think are appealing. You compare it to Massachusetts. So as a consequence of that, UNH Franklin Pierce was a pretty easy decision.
Oh, that's interesting. What is it that is especially attractive to you about the New Hampshire legal system?
Well, specifically with the legal community, it's a smaller group of people, and
Right.
they tend to be a lot more cordial and I think courteous with each other. I've had some exposure to the Massachusetts court systems and legal community, and there's great attorneys down there. It's a great community, but it's just not quite the same. Again, not as I said, cordial as I think what I've seen up in New Hampshire.
Where was your fellowship, Jonathan, and what type of services did that organization provide?
So it was at the Rockingham County Attorney's Office, which is a prosecutor's office. So naturally, it's prosecution. At a county attorney office, it's felony prosecutions, as well as they also handle misdemeanor appeals.
Wow. And what was your job specifically?
Well, sort of whatever they needed.
Right.
In some cases that would be, actually a lot of cases, it was drafting the state's objection to defense motions to suppress. So defense counsel is trying to suppress some piece of evidence. The state needs to respond to that in some capacity. So I would draft pretty much all of those objections as necessary. I would research different legal issues that would come up, some of that based on case law, some of it based on sort of complicated statutory or regulatory law. One of the big challenges they have is just new cases coming in from local police departments. They'll get over the course of maybe a month. Each attorney probably sees maybe a dozen or 2 dozen brand new cases that, a lot of times are very complicated to try and review that. So that was also part of my job is reviewing, in certain cases, new cases that come in from police departments, and then also potentially making recommendations about what charges to file.
That's a big deal, Jonathan, dealing with, at the local police level, and then at the county level, and then even up to the state level. How did that feel? That's a lot of responsibility.
It is. Again, some of it, where I'm doing work directly for the attorneys, I can, well, in all cases, I was working for these attorneys. It's not like I was filing charges myself. But yeah, it's important. You're talking about, prospective defendants. This is potentially your freedom that you're talking about. So it's certainly something that I took seriously.
Right. So describe an instance where you felt if you directly help someone, that your work either made a direct impact or that your placement with the office really helped it carry out its duties better than it would have been able to if you hadn't been there.
Well, I think probably the best example that I can give of that is a lot of the work that I was doing goes towards the efficiency of the office, right? If I'm not there to do, drafting objections to suppression motions, doing research, somebody has to do it. In all likelihood, it's going to be one of the assistant county attorneys that has to do that work instead. And as a consequence of that, their attention is going to be drawn away from work that I can't do because I'm not actually an attorney yet. The best example I can give you is specifically was a case that I worked on for the county attorney there, Pat Conway. She's, I believe, still in the process of prosecuting a negligent homicide. And there was a ton of research that had to be done for that case regarding this really boring stuff. But it was, DOT regulations, placement of, signage and construction vehicles during roadside construction. But it was relevant to the case. And I worked on that the entire summer. I worked on that, of course, across the entire 10-week internship, read through, thousands and thousands of pages of different regulatory documents that govern this kind of stuff. And as a consequence of that, Attorney Conway didn't have to do that work. And so as a consequence, I think she was better able to serve the people of Rockingham County.
Right. She was freed up to do the really direct service work that she needs to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think your fellowship meant to the wider community?
Well, I think it goes towards, specifically for the people of Rockingham County, it goes towards giving them, serving justice for them, and doing so in an efficient manner. Again, that's ultimately what I'm there for, is to sort of take a little bit of the burden off of the, really, really I wouldn't say overworked, but the attorneys there do a ton of work. They have a massive caseload. And so, being there, being able to take a load off of their shoulders just a little bit, I think enables them to better serve the people of Rockingham County and serve the interests of justice.
It must have made you feel good.
I guess at the end of the day, yeah, it does.
How did this summer experience, Jonathan, affect your own thinking about your career choices and what you might do once you're done with law school?
Well, so, I came into law school actually thinking I wanted to be a defense attorney, and I'm not foreclosed to that possibility, but I specifically went into the internship at that point thinking, well, maybe I want to do prosecution. I viewed it in large part as a fact-finding mission to figure out, is this really something I want to do? Can I actually do what these prosecutors do day in and day out? And the answer that I came away with was emphatically yes. For me, it's put me in a position where I know as much as I can that this is what I want to do professionally. And again, maybe not my entire career, but certainly for a good part of it. I'd like to be a prosecutor. So that's for me, that was the easiest, sort of put me on a particular path that maybe I wouldn't have gone down had I not done the internship.
Oh, it's interesting. Is there anything else that you want people to know about your experience this summer and how it related to your legal education, your legal career that they might find interesting?
Well, the one thing that I appreciate, I think there's a lot of prosecutors, at least in New Hampshire, that would say the same thing. And just from an intern's perspective, I would want to reiterate that. Again, I can say lots and lots of really great, really nice things, really complimentary things about the prosecutors that I worked with. I would also want to say the same thing for the public defenders that I saw. Over the course of the internship, I had the opportunity to watch, I think it was 5 different trials, little bits and pieces of them, mind you. But, across those trials, most of the defendants were represented by New Hampshire public defenders, and they're outstanding attorneys. They're on, it's basically sort of even level of performance between the assistant county attorneys that I saw and then the public defenders in Rockingham County. And so, if anything, just as an additional takeaway, I would want to compliment those attorneys as well. It's not just, there are plenty of attorneys in the criminal justice system, at least in Rockingham County, that do exceptional work outside of just the Rockingham County Attorney's Office.
That sounds like a great experience.
It was fantastic.
Thank you for coming in and talking to us about it, Jonathan. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.